1.
What's up, Big 12 Nation? That cut out way sooner than it was supposed to. Okay, it's Tuesday nights. That can mean only one thing. We are back with another episode of your favorite YouTube Big 12 show, The Biggest 12. And here I am. It's me. I'm your host, Clint Foster. Thank you so much for being here. Obviously, we've got one last team we have yet to recap/preview. We've done all the other ones, so why not save the best, or certainly the most polarizing, for last? That's right. It's Rocky Mountain High, Colorado. There it is. Yes. All right. And, I've dressed the part today, as I often do. But before we get into the show, because I got a great show for you, lots of great guests. What are you doing if you haven't subscribed to this show yet? Okay. At Big 12 VOCFB, subscribe to the show. We're trying to grow this thing, trying to turn this thing into a, international phenomenon, probably. That's something that's definitely in the cards. We're going to make it happen. But in order to do that, you got to like, you got to subscribe, you got to do all of the YouTube things, hit the bell, do all of the stuff. This is a fantastic channel to follow, if I do say so myself, because it's not just me. It's not just the Big 12 on Tuesday nights. We've got a lot of other great Big 12 content and shows all week long that you're going to want to be a part of. Also, if you haven't done it already, please follow my YouTube channel at Clint Foster Comedy. Yes, I have not made a new sketch for you yet this summer. I am working on it. Part of the problem is, I'm gonna be honest with you, the house is a little messy, so I gotta clean up the house before I can shoot anything. But that is happening. You know, finals are done. The kids are gone from school, so your boy's about to have a lot more free time on his hands, more time to make videos for you. And follow me on Twitter at Clint_Foster55. Woo, what a bunch of podcast business we got to get through with. So here we go. Let's get this Colorado show going. I've got two excellent guests for you. Two guys that you've probably seen on Twitter if you're at all familiar with the Buffs world. We got Sko Buffs Nation and Brandon McCartney here. Boys, how are you doing?
Great.
Living, Clint, doing well.
And we got more sunglasses from Sko Buffs Nation. It's a movement, right? In the primetime era, yes?
Yeah, absolutely. If you follow primetime, you know about those Blenders glasses he's got. They're great. You got to get a pair.
Keep those hats on.
Brandon, introduce yourself for us. Let the people know what your association and connection is with Colorado.
Well, so my name is Brandon McCartney, aka B-Mac, to most of Buff Nation, and my grandpa is a OK head coach by the name of Bill McCartney. He's the winningest head coach in program history, and he has been to 2 national championships and won one against Notre Dame back in 1990.
Beautiful stuff. Big fan of your grandpa, by the way. Fantastic dude. Hope he's doing well. How is he doing? I mean, give the people a window into his life.
He's just doing okay. That's all I'm gonna say. Is he's doing okay.
All right. Well, good enough to hear. He's in the Lord's hands, and he's done the Lord's work for a long time. I'd love to see it. Okay, so first thing I got for y'all before we get into all of the craziness that we're going to talk about is, Colorado. This is a team that, at least for me, I always have had kind of a soft spot for. I've always been kind of drawn to the Buffs, but here, ever since the primetime era began, Colorado's become a little bit of a villain to a lot of college football fans. What are y'all's thoughts on that? Do you think it is earned, and do you embrace wearing the black hat, or do you think it's not fair?
I'll take it, B-Mac. Yeah, I think first and foremost, Coach Prime was a shot in the arm, right? I mean, for years, you're talking about from 2006 to 2022, we lost 134 games, right? If I tried to talk to people about Colorado football, no one wanted to hear about it. Nobody wanted to talk to me about it. It was depressing, right? All of a sudden, we hear the rumors. Maybe Coach Prime is coming to see you. All of a sudden, it becomes real. And, yeah, all of a sudden, we have a big bullseye on our back, right? And, Coach Prime talks the talk and walks the walk. I think we love it, man. I mean, it's really been that jolt in the arm that the program needed. Of course, you remember back in the Big 12, we had some really great years, especially in the 80s and the 90s under Coach McCartney and some other coaches as well. But, we've been kind of a gutter program for 2 decades, and it's great just to see people talking about Colorado again, let alone being the villain. And, if you follow my account on X, it's Sko Buffs Nation, I'd like to do the Kenny Powers welcome back to the Big 12 because it's kind of, you haven't really seen that yet in the Power 4 world these days. You haven't seen a lot of programs come back to the conference they previously left. So really exciting. And yeah, we don't mind being the villain. We don't mind having that that bullseye on our backs, because we got the cameras, you got the stage, and who wouldn't want to be a part of that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I want to go back to being the underdogs and 1-11. I think I want to go back to empty Folsom Fields every Saturday. Oh, what the heck? I love it. I love all the attention we're getting. I love going to the store every single day and getting a Go Buffs everywhere I go here in Central Illinois. But I mean, I love winning ball games. I love the culture that Coach Prime has created. Um, I love what he's done with the roster this past off season, and well, this off season and the past one, bringing in a new roster, revamping the offensive line, bringing in some really fun offensive weapons like Will Shepard and just a bunch of other guys on the offensive line too. And yeah, we did lose a running back in Dylan Edwards, but we gained two new ones from Arkansas and Ohio State, and I love it. And if you don't want to be here, you don't want to be here. If you want to be here, we love you. So that's how I view it.
Coach Prime talked about he packed his luggage, right? And it's Louis. It's Louis. Well, you mentioned it, right? The transfer portal. And I mean, we are in a new era of college football. It's frankly hard to keep track of all of the guys going in and out of the transfer portal at any given time. But there are a lot of guys leaving Colorado right now. And the chat is already getting antagonistic. Joey said, you're not winning now, and guess what? You won't win after this year. You don't have a team. You have a lot of good players. What do y'all make of the massive amounts of guys moving in and out of the transfer portal for Colorado? Is that a concern to y'all? Or are you, hey, we're trusting Coach Prime. It's a process. It's going to work out.
Yeah, I mean, you look at day one when Coach Prime came in, right? He said, go ahead, hit that portal. I'm bringing luggage with me, and it's Louis, right? That's the modern era now. If you don't like it, you're going to be a thing of the past, right? A lot of these programs now, I think Clemson's the only one that didn't bring in any players to the portal. And I mean, sure, Clemson's doing well. They're having a good program under Dabo. But, for Colorado, we had a 1-11 season in 2022. Of course, we want to get those old players out of the program and bring in new players and some fresh blood because think about the mindset you have after a 1-11 season, right? So I think for Buffs fans, we're watching these portal players coming in and, we go 4-8 under Coach Prime's first season. We bring in a whole new offensive line. We bring in the number one offensive tackle in the country in Jordan Seaton. You got guys like Justin Mayers, Khalil Benson. The list goes on and on. I mean, they got some dogs on that offensive line now. And so, yeah, I think if you're able to actually take advantage of the portal and utilize it in the right way, I think it'll pay off in the long run because a lot of these players now, they're gone after 1 year, right? Even if you sign an NIL deal, you might just leave after year one because you're not getting any playing time. And, yeah, like to B-Mac's point, we lost Dylan Edwards, but then we bring in a running back like Isaiah Augustive. We bring in Dallin Hayden from Ohio State. I mean, just some absolute dogs in the backfield. So I think for Buffs fans, we're kind of just building to our roster. If you look at the front seven that we brought in on defense, a whole new offensive line, whole new defensive line, some great linebackers coming in. I mean, that's a lot of work for the coaching staff, I'm sure. But in this day and age, you're treating it kind of like a business these days, right? And no differently than the NFL, you can leave in free agency, and you're seeing that now with the transfer portal. So I think we're kind of ahead of the game in a sense where you're starting to actually see Coach Prime utilize it in a way that can be effective. And, we still got to win on the field, right? We only won 4 games last season. But when you look at a lot of those margins that we had just last year, I mean, you're talking about 6.5 points or less in a lot of those games. You turn that into some wins this year, and all of a sudden, gloves are off. And I think a lot of people, especially people like Pat Narduzzi, who criticized Coach Prime. We took 2 of their defensive ends and brought them into Boulder this year. So I'd be a little upset if I was people like Pat Narduzzi or some of these other coaches who are kind of living in the past, thinking that the only thing that matters this day and age is the high school recruiting class. It's really a whole mind mindset now, and I think Coach Prime's done a good job of
it. And one thing we need to mention is how we brought in 2 really good coordinators. Our offensive coordinator is going to be pretty good, but I think that our defensive coordinator we got from the Cincinnati Bengals might be the best move that Coach Prime has done in his tenure here at Colorado. I've heard nothing but good things about him from multiple people, multiple sources, and plus I think that it does hurt losing 2 tight ends, 3 running backs, 4 million wide receivers to the transfer portal, but but these new guys that we're bringing in, like I said, from Ohio State and Arkansas, and the tight end that we also got a tight end from Ohio State, I believe.
Yeah, Sam.
And we got Will Shepard, and who's going to be a phenomenal wide receiver, by the way. He might be wide receiver number 2. That's a BMAC bold prediction there, Skull Buffs Nation. And then, but the wide receiver that I'm really most excited for is LaJohntay Wester.
Yeah,
I think he's going to be amazing.
All right. I love the optimism, man. This is the Biggest 12 is certainly a pro optimism, pro hope show. Okay, and we've been talking up all the teams, and I love that there's optimism in the Colorado camp as well. So I'm gonna put a pin in this. Well, go ahead.
Well, I mean, when you're 1-11 1 year, and then that's all you can have is optimism.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to do something different with this show. I've got, instead of one like big game at the end, I have 2 mini games that I'm going to kind of bookend the show with. So we'll do one now, kind of soften us up, loosen up the muscles here. Then we'll talk a lot of Colorado football, and then we'll close with another game. Does that sound good, boys?
Cool.
Okay. So, first game I got for you. We were talking about this a little bit before the show. There's a shocking number of shows, TV shows, and movies that are set in Colorado. So I want y'all to rank them. Okay, we got a tier list here. Basically, the 10 first movies that came to my mind / shows set in Colorado, and I want y'all to make a tier list of them. Sound good?
Cool.
Okay, so first of all, I mean, this is the namesake of the remaining Big 12 teams after Texas and Oklahoma's departure, the Hateful Eight. Have y'all seen this Tarantino movie?
Oh yeah, it's a classic.
Okay, where are you putting Hateful Eight in the ranking of Colorado movies?
You seen that one, BMAC?
Can't say I have.
Okay, we'll put that on a solid B. I think that's a good start.
Okay, so solid B there. Perfect. Okay, next one, and this is one that I really need to see. I haven't seen yet. It's got Jimmy Stewart and John Wayne, another Western, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, another Colorado setting movie. Where are you putting this one? Have either of y'all seen this?
I'm not gonna lie, I haven't seen most of these movies.
Yeah, I'm not the best trivia guy, but we'll give it a crack anyway. Why don't you take that one, B-Mac?
We'll give it a solid B tier 2.
B tier?
Okay, that's like that's probably a good movie. I haven't seen it. Tier.
It's got a good name, right? It can't be bad.
Yeah, right, exactly. All right, so this one kind of reinvented the Western, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Sundance Kid and Butch Cassidy, by the way, also very close ties to the city of Fort Worth, where my Horned Frogs and myself are from. Have y'all seen Butch and Sundance?
Isn't Robert Redford in that one, Clint?
Yeah, Robert Redford and Paul Newman. Yeah. And it's got Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head randomly in the middle of it where they're riding a bicycle.
B-Mac, we might have to go S tier here because if you remember, Robert Redford was a janitor at a famous boulder establishment called The Sink. It's a great spot if you ever get the chance
tier.
to boulder.
Automatically, whenever the sink is involved.
Automatic S tier.
Yeah.
Okay, I love it. Okay,
B-Mac,
hopefully you've seen this one, Miracle, about the hockey team, U.S. hockey team from 1980.
We're going to put that above S tier. Let's.
Oh, okay. Tip top. Do you agree, Sco Buffs?
Oh, yeah. Great movie.
Yeah, yes. Great one. Kurt Russell, the speech. I mean, yes, we love it. Chef's kiss, beating the Soviets. Okay, Jack Nicholson in The Shining. You ever spent a winter in Colorado and go insane? There you go. Where are we putting The Shining?
A tier.
I think we go A, yeah.
Okay, A tier. All right. I mean, that's a good movie. Definitely, I just lost his name, the author of the book. Well, anyway, it's definitely his best, I think. You
gotta visit the hotel in Boulder or in Colorado if you ever get the chance.
Oh, yeah?
Oh yeah, it's worth it.
All right, very cool. Another kind of being isolated in Colorado type movie, Misery, with Kathy Bates and James Caan. She's a super fan of his writing, and so she injures him and forces him to stay in her house. Where y'all putting Misery?
Skull Buffs Nation, you got this.
Let's go with the D, just even it out a little bit, because I don't know it, you don't know it, B-Mac. It's all good.
Okay. All right, a couple of TV shows, and I didn't even realize this. Community, the show Community about the junior college. The community college is set in Colorado. Are y'all Community fans?
BMAC, what you got?
Let's put it at C tier.
Not Community fans. Okay.
No, not big Community guys. Yeah.
I gotta go
Okay.
watch it myself. Not gonna lie.
All right. How about South Park?
I think we go solid A there at least, right? I mean, Trey Parker, Matt Stone, some great
They're
CU
CU grads, right?
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a classic, even though I've never seen A tier.
Yeah. They've done. They did a commencement speech a few years back too. It's great.
Amazing. By the way, I think arguably no fictional character better encapsulates the current oeuvre of Colorado than Towley from South Park. I think that's a fair thing to say. All right. Dumb and Dumber. Obviously, they go to Aspen, right? They make the road trip to Aspen. Where are we putting Dumb and Dumber?
What do you got, BMAC?
S tier.
Tier? Yeah, there you go.
Story of my life.
I fully agree.
Story of
S
my
tier
life.
for Dumb and Dumber. Absolutely. Insanely quotable movie. And I don't know if y'all have seen this one. I'm a big Coen Brothers fan. This is kind of an anthology type film where it's like several short films stitched together. The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. It's on Netflix. Several of these do take place in Colorado. Have either of you seen it?
We'll let you decide this one, Clint.
Yeah, Clint, why don't you take a stab on this one? Where'd you put this one on the board?
I mean, I love the Coen Brothers. To me, this is an S tier.
They're great. They're great. How can you not?
I
got
mean,
some
this
TV
is,
to watch.
so if y'all have seen the meme of what's his name, James Franco with the hangman's noose around his neck, and he says, "First time."
Yeah.
That's what that's from.
Oh,
Yes.
no way. We got to check that one out, BMAC.
Yes.
I have to check out all 7 of these.
Yeah, well, you should. Yeah, absolutely, you should. Well, okay, there we go. Now we're off to the races. Okay, so let's talk some 2023 Buffs football. Okay, a big improvement from the previous year. The prime era is underway. First question for you boys: if you had to assign a letter grade to Colorado's 2023 season, what would you give the Buffs?
Oh, man.
Are we going by positions or just overall?
I mean, just overall, an overall letter grade. And this can be relative to expectations as well as results. What grade would you give the Buffs?
Well, I'm
BMAC,
looking at it.
I'll go after you.
I'm going to give it a solid C+.
Okay, C plus. How come?
Well, I mean, I'm looking at it from the lens of 2 different viewpoints. So, like, Prime fans might view it as like a D- because, like, they were so hyped and, like, they expected for us to be in a bowl game and for the offensive line to be a lot better, for Shador, who's a great quarterback, to not get sacked 2 billion times in one season, which was only like 74 times. I think Prime fans would give it a D+, but for me, I'd give it like a more so a B-. After the first 3 games of the season, I just felt like we just stopped playing as a team, if you will, and like all positions were playing for themselves as opposed to a team. Like, you felt like Shador was. I don't want to get in trouble for this. It felt like Shador was playing for stats, more so to say, and like protecting himself instead of the ball. If that makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah, and I'll go right there with you. I mean, I think C+ makes sense, right? Obviously, everybody saw Colorado kind of surprised the football world when they marched into Fort Worth and beat TCU. I think a lot of people weren't really expecting that, right? And then we win the next 2 games. You see Lil Wayne walking out with the team against USC. I mean, there was a lot of hype there, right? And then all of a sudden we had back-to-back games against USC and Oregon. The hype started to kind of fade away. I think when you look at the Coach Sean Lewis offense, it's a great offense, but it didn't really make sense for Shador with the offensive line that we had. And he didn't really see the adjustments that we needed to make throughout the season. That's why you saw Pat Shurmur come in at the end of the year and kind of install his own version of the offense, to which Ryan Staub played because Shador was hurt in the last game. So, yeah, from a hype perspective, obviously a ton of hype around Colorado. You see the celebrities on the sidelines every single game. I was at the Arizona game. We lose that one by 1 score. The Stanford game was a heartbreaker. The Arizona State game was tough. A lot of those games felt winnable, and I think that's where Coach Prime kind of recognized that after the season and brought in, Shermer as the full-time offensive coordinator and Livingston as the D coordinator, a guy with great NFL experience, working with some great defensive backs with the Cincinnati Bengals. So yeah, I give it a solid C+, right? We got back on the map. People are talking about Colorado football again. I can turn on SportsCenter and see Scott Van Pelt or other analysts talking about the Buffs once again. For the last 10, 15 years, you didn't really see that too often, probably with the exception of the 2016 season where we won 10 games, quote unquote, the rise. And, for Buffs fans, I think for a lot of the diehard Buffs fans, like BMAC and I, we've been here year after year after year. They won 4 games when I was in school in Boulder, right? We went through really tough years up in Boulder. And so for us just to be relevant again, be talked about in the media, to have trolls coming after us on Twitter all day, it's nice to be wanted and hated at the same time again. It feels great. And, Coach Prime brought a lot of fans to the program as well. And you're starting to see this crazy mix of longtime Boulder fans and Coach Prime fans really get together. And so, yeah, I'd give it a solid C+. Obviously, we wish we would have won some more games, gotten to at least a bowl game in year 1. But I think we're definitely going to head to a bowl game this year. And I think the sky's the limit with the new offensive line and the defensive line we brought in for sure. So, yeah. Feedback, I'm C+. I think you're right there too, right?
Yeah, y'all bring up a lot of great points too. And, looking back at the schedule, I feel like a lot of folks, obviously everyone remembers the blistering 3-0 start and the shocking win against my Frogs in Fort Worth. You're welcome, America. It's our fault. We unleashed this media frenzy upon you by, legitimizing Colorado. But, I think a lot of people, they think about that Oregon game, and I think that colors their perception of the entire Colorado season. But y'all brought it up. There was a lot of very close games throughout the rest of the year. You lose to USC by a touchdown. That's a winnable game against a very good team with, a Heisman Trophy winner on it. As much as I hate that he won the Heisman over Max Duggan, the nail biter, the comeback win against for Stanford. Oregon State was a close one. Arizona was a close one. Utah was within a touchdown. These are all, for the most part, competitive games. Connor Johnson says, Prime fans underestimated how good the Pack was. Tried to tell him. How much was this? Oh, man, the Pack was just really good last year. How much was it? Oh, Colorado's just, in year 1 of a rebuild, and now the Big 12 is going to be a different challenge. What do you make of all that?
Yeah, I think it was a good balance, right? A lot of Buffs fans, longtime reporters like Brian Howell, Adam Munster-Tiger, guys who've been covering the Buffs for years, we all understood, hey, you're playing USC at home with Caleb Williams. You got Bo Nix at Oregon. It's a loud stadium up there, but it's this odd mixture of BMAC, you back?
Sorry about that.
You're good.
All good.
It was this odd mixture, though, right? You had a ton of hype around the program, but, I think for people like myself and a lot of other Buffs fans, we're like, this is a rebuild. We overturned the roster more than you've ever seen a roster get overturned in one season, utilizing the portal, bringing in these new players, right? So it was just an odd balance of, yes, the Pac-12 was actually damn good last year, right? Oregon State had a great season. Oregon had a great season. USC, probably underperformed expectations, but when you have a guy like Caleb Williams on your team, obviously there's a lot of hype and excitement around a team like that. Washington State did pretty well for themselves too. The list goes on and on. And for Buffs fans, yeah, it was this odd mixture of all of a sudden, very quickly from December 2022 to that first game at Fort Worth, right? Just the hype just kept building and building. And you're seeing all of the momentum. But yeah, to your point, Clint, the Oregon game, right? Dan Lanning, who's one of the worst people on the planet, in my opinion, making comments saying, oh, they're just playing for clicks, right? But Dan Lanning has unlimited Phil Knight money, and he can buy a program easily. And he also walked into a great situation in Oregon. We were not afforded the same luxury in Colorado. We were short on money. We're still playing, old coaches off, and the money and the donor base just wasn't there for Rick George when Coach Prime came in. If you remember, Rick George, our athletic director, also told everybody, "Hey, I don't even have the money to pay Coach Prime yet. We don't know where that money is going to come from, but we feel pretty good about it." And safe to say now we have the money to pay Coach Prime, but absolutely it was just an odd balance of the hype around the program, all the noise on social media against year 1 of a rebuild with a really tough schedule. And I don't know who in the Pac-12 hated us, but scheduling us back-to-back Oregon and USC in those first 2 games for Coach Prime, man, that was just brutal, and I had a bad feeling about it. But, again, I think you look at the whole season, the hype we got, some of the new players that came in, and, it's easy for a Buffs fan like myself or BMAC to be excited going into next year too.
Yeah. So I want to talk high points. I always like to talk about the high point of the last season. I mean, I feel like anytime you beat Nebraska, it's a great day, right? In anything. I mean, BMAC, that's something that goes back to your grandpa's time, establishing that rivalry, whether Nebraska wanted it to be a rivalry or not. But would you say that was the high point? Would you say beating TCU was the high point? What was the high point for you personally of the season last year?
First off, I want to say I'd rather be dead than red. No offense.
A perennial truth, no matter the circumstances.
But no offense to you, Clint, but beating TCU was probably one of my favorite moments being a Colorado fan in my lifetime. But it just doesn't get better than beating Nebraska at home to open up your home schedule, especially when Nebraska fans are talking trash and then they paint half of your stadium red, and then, or actually probably 75% of the stadium was red, but sending a bunch of crying Nebraska fans home and beating them by 24 points was the absolute highlight of the season for me. I don't know about you, Skull Buffs Nation, but that was the highlight for me.
Yeah, I'll kind of piggyback off BMAC there. I mean, obviously beating the corn, right? Matt Rule's out there tweeting emojis every single day or whatever nonsense he's up to in stinking Lincoln, right? But yeah, anytime we can embarrass the corn on a football Saturday, I mean, that's a great day for Buffs fans. And I really hope we go in there and show Dylan Raiola the Shador and show him what these Buffs are about this season, right? But I'd say that, and then also for me, it was honestly the first game that Travis Hunter came back, just because he took a really tough injury. Dirty cheap shot from Jiffy Lube J's team up in Fort Collins. And so, to see Travis come back and still perform well throughout the rest of the season, that was really a high point for me. But I think my favorite one was actually seeing Weezy coming out of the locker room with the Buffs. I mean, you got to understand, Clint, it's hard to fill that stadium during some seasons, right? It's hard to get fans to care. When you saw that, it was kind of like, all right, as Coach Prime says, we're not coming no more. We're here, right?
That was against Colorado State, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, it's Colorado. I thought that was USC.
No, it was the really late night game.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Colorado State.
We had so many late night games scheduled last year. It's hard to remember. I was up till 2, 3 o'clock, all these games, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, seeing Weezy come out, seeing just the hype around the program again, that alone is a big win for me as a longtime Buffs fans for sure.
By the way, I can't believe we made it 28 minutes into the show before we finally mentioned Travis Hunter. I mean, I don't know what we've been doing this whole time, not talking about one of the best players in the country, frankly. I mean, I was skeptical going into the season, and he made me a believer in that TCU game. Just an unreal talent. Okay, let's talk 2024. And I'm going to put the schedule up on the screen here for us to look at. It's not an easy road to hoe for Colorado, but y'all talked about being optimistic. What do you think when you look at the schedule? What are your expectations? Let's talk about 2024.
Well, first of all, I will say this: North Dakota State is not going to be an easy game. They're one heck of an FCS school, but I expect to beat them. Expect to beat Nebraska. Expect to beat. We might be undefeated going into the Kansas State game for Dylan Edwards' homecoming. Yeah, I'm going to say we're going to be undefeated going into the Kansas State game on October 12th.
Okay, B-Mac's calling it. All right. What do you think, Scott Buffs?
Yeah, I mean, like B-Mac said, North Dakota State's not a pushover. Matt Entz, the coach who just left to be a D-line coach for USC, he built a hell of a program there and kind of, followed in the footsteps of other coaches at North Dakota State. A lot of Buffs fans have been chirping about North Dakota State on Twitter the past couple of days, but, I look at that program and say, look at their record against FBS schools. You would be shocked to see how they've performed the last 6, 7 seasons against FBS programs. So, yeah, for us, I'm predicting 28-20, and I think it's going to be a late win for the Buffs because I don't think we're opening up the playbook heading into week 2 at Nebraska. So I think Pat Shermer calls a pretty bland offense for that game. I think Livingston, as a new D coordinator, doesn't want to give away the whole playbook either on defense. So, yeah, I think we still win that game, but I think it's going to be a late touchdown in the 4th to win 28-20. We're going to kill Nebraska. End of story there. We're going to kill Jeffy Lube J. Baylor's kind of down right now, but I think the first real challenge for us is going to be that at UCF game. That's going to be a tough one. Do not count out the Golden Knights. And it's also going to be impossible to figure out who's on which team because they're both going to be in black and gold, right? So that's going to be a tough game. And then,
maybe they'll wear their space uniforms. Make it easy.
That would actually be pretty cool. I'll give it to them. They got some cool unis down there. And then, K-State, Dylan Edwards, old Big 12 North rival in Kansas State. That's a tough game too. Arizona's a tough game. To put it as Travis Kelce said, I think we're going to beat Cincinnati this year. He's for some reason predicted that we're going to go undefeated this season. At Tech, Lubbock's always a tough place to play in. There's tortillas flying all over the place. Utah always plays this tough. Kansas has somehow gotten really, really strong since we left the Big 12. But, I think Jalen Daniels, I think the hype is a little big on him. But, I'm not going to count it out when we're on the road there. And then, having to go up against old Gundy in the last game of the season, Oklahoma State, that's going to be a tough one too. Alan Bowman, not as bad as people think. Ollie Gordon's the truth. That guy's the dog. So it's going to be a tough schedule for us. I'm still predicting 8-4. I think that's kind of the sweet spot for us against a really tough Big 12 schedule. It's just going to really come down to what Coach Mo and these players do over the offseason here in the summer and how fit they are really heading into training camp. Against, again, a really tough schedule. That's not a cakewalk of a schedule. And, I could see 6-6 as easily as I could see 9-3 or 10-2. So, really.
And then again, it's really hard to predict this because we've seen 2 straight years where, actually, Skull Buffs Nation and I have seen 3 straight years of complete roster turnovers because it's because, like he said earlier, it's becoming the new norm, and then we don't know what type of a team we'll have until week 3 or 4, because that's when teams really start molding together and finding their groove and really start playing as one. And to me, it's just going to be really tough to see. It's really tough to predict the schedule when you have consistent roster turnovers as we have had. So, but I will say our ceiling is 9-3. Our floor 5-7.
Yeah, it's actually the one really cool thing about having Coach Prime on campus is his son Dion Jr., old Bucky. He's got these Well-Off Media videos on YouTube. You actually get a really behind-the-scenes look at what the program's doing day in and out. During the off season, during workouts, in the weight room with Coach Mo, whatever it might be, right? And I think the biggest difference I've noticed from watching the Well-Off Media videos is it's only a few with all of the new players. They just got on campus a few days ago, but it just seems like it's different this time around compared to when they first came in last year, right? You're trying to, upgrade the roster on the fly. You're trying to bring in all these new players, new coaches, trying to get the install in and everything else. And just this time around, having leaders who have been there for a season, who saw what a 4-8 team looks like versus a winning program. I think when you see these workouts, there's just a different attitude about these Buffs. And you're seeing a lot of different leaders from guys like Khalil Benson, from Shador, from Levante Bentley. I mean, across the board, Travis Hunter. What better leader could you have than a guy like Travis Hunter, right? He's kind of that silent assassin, not to steal Caleb Mathis's, nickname there, but, he's just one of those guys who's a lead by example kind of guy. And I think when you have that leadership on the team now, who've been there for a year, who understand what the fans in Boulder are looking for, it just feels different this time around. And, this is no knock on the Big 12 at all, because I think the Big 12 has a great brand of football. I love the programs that we have in this conference. I'd put them head-to-head against, the Big 10 any day of the week. Look at the quarterbacks that we have and the quarterback play that we're going to have in the Big 12 this year compared to the Big 10. I would argue that by a country mile, the Big 12 has a better quarterback play this season. And we saw what that looks like just last year in 2023. having to go up against Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, DJ, all those other guys, right? So don't count out this roster, but it's going to come down to what they do this summer and what it looks like heading into training camp and 2 days this fall.
Well, yeah, especially if guys like Cam Rising and Jalen Daniels stay healthy all year. Yeah, I mean, it's the Big 12 always has unreal quarterback play, frankly. But yeah, there's a lot of parity in this league this year, and a lot of teams that could make the conference championship, which leads me back again to this schedule. And it's kind of just shocking to me how the Big 12 did y'all absolutely no favors. I mean, I think September is going to be tough just because of, you've got the rivalry games. Like you said, North Dakota State is a very good program. You go to Nebraska and to Colorado State. I'm going to be watching that Colorado State game again this year because that was spicy and saucy last year, and I expect the same. But November is just stupid. I mean, whose idea was this? You talk about somebody at the Pac-12 didn't like Colorado. Somebody at the Big 12 doesn't like Colorado for this November schedule because, I mean, you've got 3 potential Big 12 championship contenders back to back to end the season.
Honestly,
thankfully you're not in Stillwater at least, but I mean that's just crazy.
I wouldn't sleep on Texas Tech either.
Yeah. It's a tough place to play
across the board. Yeah, I mean, you just look at these Big 12 programs. You got guys like Noah Fitta at Arizona. Tech's not going to be a pushover. Utah always plays us tough. Kyle Whittingham's built a great program out in Utah, right? At Kansas and home against Oklahoma State. Yeah, this feels kind of similar to last year's schedule, no doubt. I mean, that's a tough schedule, and again, the quarterback play is going to be phenomenal. Avery Johnson at Kansas State, he's running a great offense as well. So it's a really tough schedule, and it's really just going to come down to what happens this offseason, how quickly this team can gel. But again, we got Shedeur, man, and if you watch this guy, there's a reason why he's one of the favorites to go number 1 overall in the draft next year. There's a reason why Travis Hunter is 1B right there, or even 1A on some of these boards, right? So when you're talking about 2 potential top 10 draft picks on the Buffs, Coach Prime being there for a year now, the offense that Pat Shermer's put behind this program, even seeing a guy like Ryan Staub running it in the last game of the season last year, there's a lot of reason for Buffs fans to be optimistic. And, we still don't truly know what the Livingston defense is going to look like just yet. And I think for a lot of these programs in the Big 12, different having Colorado back in the conference, but also just getting different looks from a defense you're not familiar with, right? And so, again, that's where I'm saying in that North Dakota State game, you're not going to see us open the playbook too much. Heading into Nebraska, we're going to do whatever we have to do to kill Big Red. I mean, I hate those people. I'm not going to swear right now, but I have some really expletives I'd love to use about Nebraska. DM me if you want to hear them after the show.
DM me for expletives.
Yeah, if you want to hear my real thoughts about Nebraska, I'll tell you all about it. But, again, you look at the schedule, right? At UCF, I don't think it's a cakewalk either. Gus Malzahn and that program's done a heck of a job too. And so it's just, brutal.
Well, they'll have KJ Jefferson next year. I mean,
KJ's going to ball. He's going to be great. People that think he's, people who doubt KJ don't know ball, right? And you could make that argument about a lot of these guys. Avery Johnson, Noah Fitta, go down the list. Cam Rising if he's healthy. Daniels if he's healthy. Alan Bowman is going to, I think, surprise a lot of people. As you probably know well, Gundy, he's probably good for 8 wins a year every single year, right? So, easy to say teams like Utah, Oklahoma State, probably the favorites in the conference heading into the season. But, BMAC said at the beginning of the show, he wants the Buffs to be an underdog, right? How many of those games do you think we're going to be an underdog? I bet we're a dog in a lot of those games. And we got leaders and dogs on this team, like Coach Prime said. And I feel
I was kidding when I was just kidding when I said I want to be the underdog.
Yeah, except for Nebraska, right?
We're going to be the dog.
With a W and an A, yeah.
We're winning the national championship this year.
He's calling it, folks.
Never doubt BMAC, and you got to watch his predictions before every game if you're not familiar. The BMAC predictions are usually pretty spot on. I feel pretty good about his predictions this season. It's going to be a great year for BMAC predictions, too, before every single game that we have.
Well, hey, and I do want to bring up one other thing regarding Utah, who I think definitely has y'all beat as far as conference villain, in my personal opinion. Have y'all seen, Connor brought it up, have y'all seen the rumors about Utah supposedly playing footsie with the ACC? Because, what says Atlantic Coast more than Salt Lake City? Have y'all seen these?
Yeah, I've seen these. It's utter nonsense in my opinion, right? Because we're familiar with Utah now, having to play them in the Pac-12, and they didn't want to join the Big 12. They thought they were good enough just to jump right to the Big 10. They weren't, and I think these rumors are ACC fans, or is that one reporter on Twitter talking about it, right? I think they're kind of foreshadowing and looking ahead, just saying, oh well, Florida State has one foot out the door, Clemson has one foot out the door. Who could we replace them with? Well, Utah's probably the next one in line, right? So it's funny, though, the way that reporter framed it on Twitter. He said, there is potential to earn more revenue in the ACC. Well, first of all, Big 12 makes more revenue now. They have better earnings. Brett Yormark is the truth.
Yeah.
And when you look at the ACC, I think it's on the verge of collapse. If anything, Brett Yormark's going to go shopping once again and have his pick of the litter, no doubt. Once Florida State gets out of their grant of rights, and once same thing with Clemson. So I think the ACC is kind of dead on arrival, and very naive of Utah fans to think so highly of themselves. When again, the pasture isn't always greener when you leave a conference. We certainly know a thing about that. Joining the Pac-12, leaving the Big 12, we were promised more money by joining the Pac-12. We actually would have made more money if we could stay in the Big 12. Because Larry Scott and George Klipkoff are absolute morons and had no idea how to run a TV contract and negotiate in this day and age. So, yeah, I think Utah is very naive to think that they're going to all of a sudden be wanted by a conference that's about to explode. If they want to bolt, by all means, go for it. I'd love to, get the Utes out of here. They're kind of an annoying fan base, and
Truly.
I think all fans will see that, no doubt, and you're already seeing it on Twitter. So, yeah, I don't know, BMAC, have you seen that at all? Have you seen this noise?
Honestly, no, not really. But we'll give a shout out to my favorite Pac-2 team in Oregon State. Just messing with Connor. No, I really haven't heard of them wanting to go to the ACC. Honestly, if it's not Colorado, I don't follow.
Got the blinders on, tunnel vision, man. Well, let me tell you something. If Utah and SMU were to be a part of a sinking ACC ship, let me just say it couldn't happen to two nicer fan bases.
You mean the NCAA return? Yeah.
It couldn't happen to two nicer groups. All right, let's close this sucker out with one last game before we put a nice bow around this show. Okay, there's several famous bison or buffalo that I was able to come up with in my show prep. And we're going to rank them just like we ranked the Colorado movies, okay? So some of these are reaches, I will grant you. But, they're all some level of famous buffalo or bison. Starting with the buffalo who is on the Buffalo Head Nickel. I think his name is Jeff. In the pantheon of great American bison, where would you rank this specific buffalo?
You want this one, BMAC, or you want me to take this one?
Take it away.
I do love the Buffalo nickel, so let's go with an A on that one. I mean, it's a great coin, good collector's item. We'll start off strong there.
I mean, it's the least the U.S. government could do after systematically trying to exterminate an entire species to suppress the Native Americans.
True, that right?
America. Okay. Next up, I don't know if either of y'all are Avatar fans, but everyone's favorite flying bison
us tier
deserves to be in there. Okay, BMAC loves Avatar. I mean, Scobuffs, are you an Avatar guy?
Yeah, I've seen the movies. Yeah, they're not bad, but if BMAC wants
movies,
you royalty, so his priority.
The movies? What do you? No.
The
We're not talking
TV
about
shows.
blue people Avatar. We're talking about airbenders, waterbenders, firebenders. Tell him, BMAC, educate him.
They were like when I was a kid, really popular. How do you not know this, Scobuffs Nation?
I was reading football cards and trying to make a illustrious D1 career that never panned out, right?
Well, hey, watch the Avatar series on Netflix. You will not be disappointed. It holds up as an adult. I watched it for the first time as an adult in my late 20s. And yeah, it's an incredible show. One of the best animated shows of all time.
Clint,
Yes.
I personally don't watch Netflix because they have the same logo as Nebraska.
Oh, well, that's fair. That's fair enough. Okay, so this buffalo head is from the Country Bears Jamboree at Disney World. I believe his name is Buff. He talks, and I've never actually even seen the Country Bears Jamboree. But you know, talking buffalo head animatronic. I'm a big animatronic guy. Where are we putting Buff in the American Bison pantheon?
What do you think, B-Mac?
Never heard of this.
Yeah, let's go low. We'll go with the D there. We don't know it. Yeah.
Never heard of this. Get out of here, Buff. Okay, so these next two, we're taking a slight departure. Okay, these are both water buffalo or Cape buffalo. Specifically, the water buffalo that Larry the Cucumber sings about in the first ever VeggieTales VHS. We don't see this buffalo, but we know he exists because everybody has one.
Stop saying VeggieTales. Just put it in an S tier.
Yes, I'm like, surely B-Mac's familiar with VeggieTales. Scobuffs, did you ever watch any VeggieTales?
Yeah, I saw VeggieTales. They're great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, he's cultured a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's engaged with the culture some. That's good. All right. So again, water buffalo, Cape buffalo. This is Chief Bogo from the movie Zootopia. Pretty solid flick, Disney movie. Have y'all seen Zootopia?
I saw it a while ago. Yeah. What do you think, B-Mac?
We'll put him in B tier.
Yeah, there you go.
B tier. Okay. This is one that I had memory hold and was like, okay, I know there's like an animated bison from a show that I have seen like in the mid 90s. This is from a show called The Book of Virtues, where they like tell classic stories to these kids and like talk about, you know, the virtues exhibited by these characters. The bison's name is Plato. He's voiced by a stellar voice actor who's done a lot of animated stuff. He was Captain Gantu in Lilo and Stitch, if y'all have seen Lilo and Stitch. Anyway, I'm assuming y'all have no association with the Book of Virtues whatsoever. But
This is all you
animated show.
Let's just go with the C just to fill it out, make it look pretty. Yeah, sounds good, but you know, again, we don't know it. So if it's not Coach Prime and the Buffs, we don't know it.
Fair enough. Okay, another guy with some Fort Worth ties, Buffalo Bill Cody. This is who the Buffalo Bills are named after with his Wild West show. He is not a buffalo; he's a man, but you know his name's Buffalo Bill. So where are we putting him?
Since I'm not a Buffalo Bills fan, we're putting him in B tier.
There you go.
B tier, Scobuffs?
Yeah, B tier works. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, all right. And last but not least, the unnamed, as far as I'm aware, buffalo from the Buffalo Wild Wings commercials. He has wings. He enjoys sports and snacks, and he tends to make a mess in the commercials. Where are we putting him?
You know, B-Mac, I think if Buffalo Wild Wings was willing to give some Buffs players an NIL deal, we'd put him a little higher, right? If they
C tier.
do it.
C tier.
We'll put a C tier, yeah. So, you know, I wish Buffalo Wild Wings, if you're listening, please reach out to the Buffs about some NIL deals. But that offensive line and D-line wouldn't hate that too much, right? So, yeah, give us a call.
Wonderful job, boys. Y'all, fantastic work. This is the official Bison / Buffalo ranking. Famous Bison. So there you have it. You know, we cover the important topics here on the Biggest 12, right? These are the things that people want to know about, right? Where do CU Buffs fans stand on like the pantheon of American Bison? There you go. Well, thanks y'all so much for hanging out and being good sports. Before we go, tell the people where they can find you, plug anything you want to plug. Have at it, friends.
Yeah, I'll go first. You can follow me, Still Buffs Nation. You know, work with and interact with a lot of great accounts there, and would love to plug the 5430 Alliance. And if you're a Buffs fan, you want to donate, love to try and win, go to 5430 Alliance, help the Buffs out. It's all you, B-Mac, go for it.
You can find me on Twitter at BMcCartney7. That's my handle. The name is I Am Wired, Fired, and Inspired.
What does that come from, by the way? Give me some context for Wired, Fired, and Inspired.
B-Mac, gotta educate here.
So, I guess my grandpa started saying it a lot when he was at Colorado, but the story died down a little bit, or the saying died down a little bit after he retired in '94, and so I bought it back when I started doing my pregame prediction videos in 2020 during COVID, and my dad was like, "Hey, we need to figure out a way to end your videos on an exciting note." And then my brother, he's like, "What if you just said I am wired, fired, and inspired?" So I I took that and ran with it, and I made it a lot more exciting. And I added the "Let's Go Buffaloes" on there. So, yeah, it's pretty hype.
D-Mac, I think you should send us off with one. You know?
Say that again.
I think you should send us off with one for running the show.
Count me down. Count me down.
All right.
Let me do this first. Everybody
go ahead,
subscribe at Big 12 VOCFB. See a lot more shows like this. We got a great show for you next week. It is going to be the uniform episode. We got a old pal who I'm going to have come and talk about Big 12 uniforms. It's going to be amazing. Follow me on Twitter at Clint_Foster55. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at Clint Foster Comedy. And take us out, B-Mac.
Count me down. Count me down. Let's go Buffs.
3, 2, 1.
I am wired, fired, and inspired. Let's go Buffaloes! Screw Nebraska.
Beautiful, beautiful. Hey, everybody, I love you. I'll see you next week. I hope your team wins. And go Big 12.
Go Horned Frogs.